Welcome to the California Insect Barcoding Initiative. My name is Dr. Austin Baker, and I'm the coordinator for the insect collecting for this project. In this video, I would like to show you some tips for sweep netting vegetation for insects so you can maximize the biodiversity that you're catching. The main goal of the insect collecting in this project is to catch as many different species as possible so that we can DNA barcode sequence them in order to develop a barcode reference library for all California insects. This reference library will help future insect monitoring be able to rapidly identify any specimens with a matching DNA sequence. To this end, collecting large common insects will not improve our reference library, but collecting small-bodied insects is much more likely to yield new species that have not been discovered yet. Insects that are approximately fruit fly-sized and smaller are far more likely to be unsampled species. There are three essential pieces of equipment to bring in the field to sweep net: your net, your aspirator, and some vials. Your equipment might not look exactly like mine, but it functions in the same way. Sweeping any type of vegetation could yield some insects, but I would avoid sweeping dry grass as seeds will lodge into the holes of the net and need to be removed, a time-consuming process. And I would avoid thorny plants like berry bushes or acacia, which might tear a hole in the net bag. Flowering plants, green bushes, and low branches on trees are all good targets. The technique to sweeping is pretty simple. You want to vigorously sweep the net through vegetation multiple times at different heights and angles. You aren't examining the plants for insects then sweeping at what you see. Instead, you're going to sweep through the plants, not knowing what's in there, and then check what falls into your net after the fact. I like to sweep for several minutes and from multiple plants before I check what I've caught in the net. It's important to keep the net moving or keep the bag closed in between sweeps before you collect the insects to make sure that they don't fly out. Once you're ready to collect the insects from the net, give the net a quick swing in a figure 8 pattern to make sure everything falls to the back. Then close it off with your hand and avert the bag so the insects are closer to your face. Insects tend to fly upwards to escape, so it's best to hold the net horizontally and generally in the direction of the sun when aspirating, so insects will stay towards the back of the net. The largest insects will generally be the first to fly out, so target those first. Use your aspirator to suck up as many insects as possible. You don't need every last one, and if you notice a type of insect that is really abundant in your net, just a few specimens will be enough. We don't expect you to recognize different species, but from a single sweep, if you get a lot of things that look the same and are on the same plant, then they're probably the same species. Once the insects are in your aspirator, blow them out into a vial for that location. It's okay to use a single vial that covers a fairly large area, say a couple of miles along a trail, but if you visit a distinctly different place, use a different collecting vial with separate locality data. When you aren't actively using your aspirator, you can loop it around your neck to free up another hand. Be sure that if you salivate into the hose like I tend to, you swing the hose around once in a while to clear it out. When you're all finished collecting and you're storing your aspirator, unlink it so that the air can circulate and dry it out, otherwise it might get moldy. The more time you spend and the more area you cover at a single location, the more insect diversity you'll end up collecting. I suggest a minimum of 20 minutes per site, but if you can devote more time, it's highly recommended. Samples that will yield valuable biodiversity data might look like these, but if you can count the number of insects in your sample on your fingers, it probably isn't very biodiverse. A mix of specimens of different body sizes is good, but be sure to really focus on the smallest insects that tend to stay in the back of the net. Even the tiny plant debris in the back of the net can be full of nearly microscopic insects, so don't hesitate to suck up the debris like a vacuum cleaner and include that in the vial as well. Like most things, sweep netting for insects takes time and experience to hone your technique, but if you follow my tips, you'll be sweeping like a pro in no time. On behalf of the California Insect Barcoding Initiative, I want to thank you for participating in this important project and wish you the best of luck with your collecting.